house on fire and witnessing a UFO. These dreams are still very vivid, and in their research, they sense that they might be significant encounters. They're saying that they know they've been in contact with ETs, and they feel close to remembering, perhaps even Bashar himself, which is one reason they feel such a strong pull to join this transmission. Any insights you might provide that would be helpful in this situation?
This is indicative of communication with hybrid beings in the dream state, in the altered reality state. The house on fire represents the idea of what you're going through now in terms of breaking things down, burning things up, going from an old cycle to a new cycle, allowing the old systems to fall away, to burn away, and new systems to be put in place for your world and your reality to be refreshed and renewed. So the idea is that you are going through this transition. Sometimes it will be represented in a negative way, such as the burning of a house, but nevertheless, it is representative of a clearing, of a letting go of an old way, burning the old ideas out and allowing new ones to come in. So the idea is of a clearing and a preparation and a laying a foundation for a new structure, a new reality to take place in which contact can occur more easily. That is the communication that was given symbolically.
Nice. This person is saying in LA, her son and she spotted two silent triangular shapes with distinct circles in each corner, flying in the night sky from their hot tub. A friend's photo of a similar craft later led me to Bashar, raising questions about the origins of what they saw.
Yes, well, hybrid ships. Again, there's a lot of traffic around your planet. When you expand your consciousness, especially in a relaxed state, such as you achieved in your hot tub, a meditative state, your senses can then become more keenly aware of things that are going on around you that might have been invisible to you before until you allowed your vibration to raise by being in a more meditative state, which then gave you the ability to see some of the traffic that is moving around your planet all the time, especially the hybrid ships, since they are very close to the vibration of open contact, since it is the hybrid children that will be coming to live among you.
Okay, and here's another one. This person says, I had a fascinating flying vehicle encounter in October of 2023 in New York City. It happened around 7 a.m. in Manhattan near the 14th Street Union Square area. I was out grabbing a coffee before work when, upon crossing a street, I noticed out of the sheer corner of my eye an object flying rather unusually low in the open between the buildings. It appeared large, silent, at a distance. I noticed that it happened to be heading in the direction of my workplace right before it disappeared from view behind the buildings. A block away from my workplace, I decided to stop and see if I could get a good look at what it was. Well, lo and behold, I did, only this time it then hovered and stopped in the open space as if noticing me noticing it and stopping by to say hello. If what I perceived was in fact extraterrestrial, may you share with me who that pilot was that was piloting that ship and where they from and anything more you can tell me about that?
It is a Yael craft. They did notice that you were noticing them. Having the coffee is symbolic of waking up, and they were basically recognizing that you were waking up enough to be able to perceive their ship, which was out of phase with your reality, and yet you saw it anyway. And so they noticed that. Their message, in a sense, was good morning. You are waking up.
This person is saying, I'm a science fiction fantasy author, And I'm always wondered if the worlds and characters that run around in my head are as real as I am, or are they only real as this reality? I have a hard time defining the world as an illusion because to me, illusions are fake and fake is meaningless or a lie. Would it be safe to view the world as more malleable and less fixed than we humans currently view our experience of it?
Yes. And again, you can have a different definition of the word illusion. It is not meant in the term to be fake. The idea is perhaps more auspiciously used as a projection of consciousness rather than illusion, if illusion doesn't work for you as a term. So a projection of consciousness can still create a virtual reality for you, and the meaning in it is what you put into it. The experience of it is real, and it gives you lessons, it gives you knowledge, it allows you to expand, it allows you to learn, it allows you to grow. So in that sense, the so-called quote unquote illusion is useful as a tool, if you think of it that way, but perhaps it would be easier for you to use it in the term projection rather than illusion. The idea is that the imaginings are real in their own right to some degree in a variety of ways. It doesn't mean they have to be as concrete as you find your reality to be, but many of them may be, or they may be very close representations of a quote unquote real solid physical reality. They may be slightly different than you imagine them to be, but they could be close. Nevertheless, everything is real in some context, even if it's only real as a story. It's still real in some way, shape, or form, even if it's not literally played out physically in some parallel version of reality.
So maybe one of the ways to relate to this is the idea that since it's a projection of consciousness, it's more malleable
Yes,
and it has more plasticity than we were originally taught.
yes,
And similarly, whatever you experience is relevant to what you need to experience. So it, in a way, it doesn't matter if it's quote unquote real or not. Like, for example, they found that if a person observes another person being hurt in a way that is designed to make the person think it's happening to them, their subconscious cannot distinguish between what is really happening to them and what they are just simply observing.
yes, but you are choosing a very complex psychological example that is beyond what this person was intending. The idea is to look at it more from the science fiction point of view. For example, in your Star Trek, you have the character known as Mr. Spock. As we have discovered, we have never found yet the idea that beings that look exactly like them, what you call the Vulcans, physically exist, but the representation of Mr. Spock is that he is a hybrid. Hybrids exist. The idea of what you call the non-interference directive, the prime directive in Star Trek, where certain civilizations that have not evolved to a certain point are allowed to evolve to that point before they are contacted. That is an actual thing that exists in many civilizations, including ours. So the idea is that there can be a mix of things that do have concrete reality to them, physically speaking. There can be some things that are real in the sense that they are symbolic representations of other concrete realities, though the representation itself may not be literal. And there are some things that are simply literal as stories. And that doesn't make them any less real because they are real stories, but they're not necessarily concretely, literally real in the physical sense that you understand physical reality experiences to be. But anything you can imagine in some context is real because you cannot imagine non-existence. You just have to be able to discern the context of the thing that you're talking about to know the difference between something that exists as an actual concrete physical reality and something that exists as an idea that's still real as an idea, but is not necessarily concretely literal. Although I have to add the caveat that in spirit, anything you imagine can be created, literally, exactly experienced as if it is physically, concretely real. So you can, in spirit, conjure up Mr. Spock, literally. And a being can take that form for you and represent it for you, and you can interact with it as if you are interacting with a literal being that is known as Mr. Spock. But that's taking place in an extremely malleable reality, such as spirit, where anything you can imagine can be manifest out of spirit material, so to speak. But it is not literally physically concrete in the way that you're experiencing physical reality now. But it will be as real as you imagine it to be, and will be the product of another kind of level of consciousness interacting with you. And in that context, just as real as anything, because the interaction and the experience will be real.
It's fascinating.
Yes.
And this person is saying they would like clarification on these two seemingly opposing ideas. One is that everything is a reflection of ourselves. And two, I hear you say sometimes to not take people's reflections personally because it has nothing to do with you. And it's just a part of their own journey. Can you clarify that?
Yes. Remember that you are experiencing your version of other beings. It doesn't mean they're not real. It's just that you're creating your simulational representational image of them and interacting with that. So what you are interacting with is your creation, but that doesn't mean you've created the actual being, the actual consciousness. The consciousness is real, and you're interacting with a real consciousness, but you're interacting through the filter that you're capable of manifesting that is the best representation of them that you manifest out of your own consciousness, out of your own energy, as an interface, so to speak. The idea of the second part of the question, read that again.
The idea that if someone the second person says something like your socks are orange and you know your socks are not orange.
Yes.
So you don't take it personally because you know it has nothing to do with you and it's part of their journey.
All right. Well, this is about discernment, because the idea is that you can always listen to what someone has to say and decide for yourself whether or not their advice is something that you do need to apply. And that's why they have been attracted into your reality, because there is a lesson there for you. There is information there that would benefit you if you applied it in your life. But you also get to discern whether or not that's true. And therefore you can, if you are honest within your own self-investigation, know the difference between whether or not somebody that's been attracted into your life and says certain things to you is actually having information that would benefit you, or whether you simply have attracted them to be of benefit to them in some way, shape, or form, by understanding that what they're saying to you is not your issue, but theirs, that you could perhaps help them with by giving them another alternative way to look at what it is they are going through. So they're still in your life because you attracted them, but you may have attracted them to be of assistance to them in changing the way they're looking at things, rather than them having information that would benefit you. But you have to give yourself the opportunity to decide which it is. You have to have honest self-recognition and self-awareness and self-discernment as to whether the information is for you or for them, or maybe both.
Okay, and this question is about assisting those in despair. How would you help someone who says that he or she wants to die? This person says they work every day with people who have lost their illusion in life.
All right. We're going to keep this very simple. Tell them to lie down on the floor or on the bed, close their eyes, and say they are ready to leave, and have them count to 10. If they can still open their eyes when they get to 10, they're not ready to leave. They are here by choice. And if they truly were done with their lives, they would have left. They would have died in that moment. That's all it takes. You don't have to have any other kind of assistance if you're really at your timing to leave. So if they can still count to 10 and open their eyes, That's their first clue that they're not ready to leave. They have not finished what they came to do. So that's an easy way to tell whether you're ready to go, whether you're really ready to die, whether you're really ready to wake back up in spirit, or whether you feel you still have something to do in physical reality that can then give them the sense of looking for what that is, finding their passions, finding their interests, not being so hard on themselves, not judging themselves so harshly, so negatively. Stop treating themselves so badly and start waking up to the fact that they are aspects of all that is, that they are beautiful, that they are creative, that they are loving and loved, they are supported unconditionally, and what they say goes. So if they want to buy into all sorts of negativity, the unconditional nature of existence will support them in that negativity because it is unconditional. And you can teach them that since it is unconditional, so unconditional that it is even willing to support them in their negativity, there is no reason it wouldn't support them in their positivity as well. And they can decide to choose more positive ways of looking at things, more positive definitions, and those will be supported just as strongly by existence as the negative ideas they held to be true or supported as well. It's up to them. But first and foremost, you can show them that they're not ready to leave, because if they really were at the end of their lives, it would be as simple as lying down, saying you're ready to go, counting to 10, and you'd be gone.
Fascinating. Can you comment on, I know people sometimes are concerned about how they're going to die. And then there seem to be some people who are lucky enough to just pass away in their sleep,
Why
you
is
know?
that lucky?
Yeah. Okay. So can you explain that
Remember,
more?
it's all about choice, and it's all about a learning experience, and it's all about what you believe to be true. So regardless of how the death occurs, it's going to be the result of something you believe to be true. It doesn't mean that you necessarily would have preferred it that way, but remember that once you have died and the soul is looking back on the experience, it will have the realization of why it occurred that way because of the belief systems of the physical part of its being. And therefore, it will learn a lesson from that, that it didn't necessarily have to choose that, or that it did choose it for very specific reasons that may have more to do with others around it than itself. So it's going to be on a case-by-case basis.
So does that also mean that people who are like reaching the age where death could potentially happen, and they decide they want to program themselves that whenever their timing is, that it would be in a certain way that wouldn't be painful or something like
Possibly,
that?
possibly. Again, it depends on how deep they dig into their belief system, how they're willing to learn the lessons they chose to learn, the challenges they chose to face in this life in a different way. They have the option of doing it that way, but that implies that they've learned something about their ability to create their reality. And that may be the whole point.
Okay. And so people who have a lot of fear of death, there seems to be two parts to it. One of them is the idea that actually, this is coming from the near death experiences. People have this wide variety of experiences, but it's all really based on their belief systems, right?
At first, yes. But again, initially, when the belief system manifests, when they are non-physical, they still get the opportunity to decide whether or not they prefer to continue to experience that or change it. And again, in non-physical reality, if they decide to change it, the change will happen instantly with no time lag. So they will learn immediately that it was the product of their belief system as to what they experienced upon the moment of their death.